to detailed historical research, because there are people here who do that so well. I will leave that to you. And nose to the grindstone. That is my latest stay out of trouble project here. I hate baseball caps. Sorry, Helen. But in the interest of what I'm doing here, I've got to wear it. The Grindstone Award Foundation, which actually has a lot of local BC content, which is why I thought it'd be appropriate for this. It's the organization, the mission is to get girls involved in hockey regardless of finances. So, you know, a long time ago in a galaxy far away called Pickering, Ontario, little me loved hockey. I would stay up way past bedtime. Even though I'm from Toronto, I loved watching the Canadiens because they had the absolute greatest hockey team ever in that 77 season. And I wanted to play. Well, there was nowhere to play. Of course, years later, I found out there would have been. And my barriers were not financial, but my dad just wouldn't have driven me. So as I got older and was fortunate enough to have a career that encompassed working in hockey, going into locker rooms, talking to people behind the scenes, I always kind of wondered, so, you know, what can I do? And as some of you know, I've had to kind of take a break, back down. Post-COVID brain, among other things, affected my ability to read and write. You know, you used to be able to read like a book, like a book a day at all the newspapers type of thing. But so when you work as a freelance writer, editor, that's not the greatest. But thankfully, the hockey community, as all of you know, has been very supportive. And I had a friend of mine reach out and say, hey, I'm working, you know, with this organization. Can you help? And I was like, and I kept thinking, what can I do? And I started looking into it more, and being a history buff, I was like, oh, okay. So started in 2014. And this is where the numbers come in. I guess I'll just get a bit more into what the organization does. Provides grants called awards to girls who want to play hockey. There are, of course, as always with any charity, there's got to be some requirements. Must be under 19. Parents have to provide their notice of assessment and have to live in Canada. So no citizenship requirements, which I think is great because often, you know, it just should not, again, trying to get as few barriers as possible. And as I mentioned, Sasha Podolchuk and Danielle Grundy were two hockey players from BC, so our local content. And out of the 351 applications received and 160 granted, every year there's ballpark about 60 applications received from BC. And here on Victoria Island, that's about anywhere between 10 to 15 in a year can be granted. So I think it's actually, I'm not sure if it's today or tomorrow, but the local girls hockey organization, Victoria Reign, is out in the community. So it's great to know that they've received some help there. And more local content. Canucks for Kids is a major supporter and sponsor through hosting the organization at events. And of course, I know there might be a few people in here who are enamored with the 1972 Summit series. So Terry Mosher, the brilliant, brilliant cartoonist, donated proceeds from his 1972 Summit series, cartoons and anecdotes, to Grindstone, so that when you're when you award $500, and then there's also the NHLPA chips in with equipment. That is a killer cost. I know my son was a goalie, and again, even with like a decent middle class suburban, two-parent household, getting the goalie pads and the goalie sticks and even little things that add up, like the sharpening the skates, all that stuff. It's huge. And sorry, I'm rambling. As I said, it's been a while since I've done a presentation or anything like that. And my involvement, when you're dealing with smaller organizations and ones that are really grassroots and within the community, national organization, we have members of the board of directors, executive, and events all over the country. But the main thing is getting people involved at the grassroots level, which is why we're in Oak Bay as opposed to downtown Vancouver. Someone stepped up, took the time to do something on a smaller scale, and it got bigger. So with me, as I said, a friend of mine, Lippy, Kristen Lipscomb, who some of you might know, phenomenal journalist and marketing comms person, approached me and said, I need someone to help out with, getting content or whatever. And I said, well, I don't know what I am capable of doing, but I've always believed don't let what you can't do stop you from doing what you can. So I realized I have Toronto Scepters season tickets. And I asked, I was like, would you guys could you use them for fundraising or bring people in? So, for me, it's, humble brag. I love knowing that at every Scepters game, there are 4 people in the seats right behind the Toronto net that would have never been able to get to a game otherwise. So that's a little thing. And the $500 that a family doesn't have to shell out on the registration, that's going to go a long, long way. And again, I like the fact, a nod to Bill Fitzel. If some of you might recall, when I first joined SIRH, I often had to bring my son to meetings because just couldn't trust the ex to look after him. So I was worried about that, right? Bringing your kids sometimes it's iffy. And Bill took me aside and he said something that stuck with me, which was, he said, I like when women join organizations because they bring their children with them. And then the kids are there. This becomes normal to them and part of their lives. And that's, again, what Grindstone is all about. Getting little girls like me to the rink so that they have that experience. And then over the years, they can take their families with them. And that's, let's see. And just for the record, a few other people. Oh, yeah, McGill. I know we have our Montreal contingent. The Grindstone has done a lot of outreach and has done work with the McGill Martlets as well. And I guess any questions, or if anyone would like to know how to be involved, feel free to ask me. And I just encourage you to continue doing what you're doing here with research. It doesn't need to be NHL or the big and the famous, because at the end of the day, we know that's not what counts. So I encourage people to just get out in your communities and try to make that little difference. And who knows, maybe one of these girls someday will end up being like the SIRH president or coming here and doing her own presentation.
Hey, Monica. So, John Loca, hopefully this is, can anyone hear this one? Yeah. So, um, is Grindstone partnering with like women's college level hockey in order to prepare them potentially for either one of the Team USA, Team Canada, or potentially like the PWHL?
Yeah, there, let's see. In terms of partnerships, there are members on the more so on the Canadian side because it is a Canadian registered charity. But as we all know, a lot of our great Canadian women's players end up going to the NCAA. Um, and I'm sure there are organizations in the States that are doing the same thing. But yeah, there are partnerships with McGill Martlets, Little NHL, the national women's team for sure. PWHL, absolutely. We have ambassadors like Emma Malte, uh, Emma Woods. So it's definitely in there. And you you won't hear about it as much as NHLPA, of course, budget wise as well. Um, but it's definitely, like I said, at that small. Haley Wickenheiser has been phenomenal at her Wickfest. She always sets aside space for a grindstone representation there. I know we've tried to get something at Scepter's games as well. Yeah, and also if you have any sort of hockey event, reach out and yeah, I'm sure we can set you up with some brochures, or if there's a volunteer in the area, I can pop out.
Thanks, Monica. Is this so? Is Grindstone affiliated with all the PWHL teams, or is it still kind of selective right now?
It's there is a partnership, but again, with the league being so new and fresh right now, um, there's no like official dedicated space on the websites or at the games. And hopefully over time, that's something that will grow. Uh, I've been trying to, hopefully I can flag Brian Burke. It's funny, I've bumped into him twice since arriving in town. Hopefully next time I bump into him, I will have to bend his ear about some of these ideas I have for the PWHL, such as, yes, having a dedicated link on the website or a presence at the games, or even, the little logo or something, for a game.
Hmm. Other questions for Monica?
It is, I
Should we get
believe.
it up, yeah.
Sorry, Lippy, I should know this off by heart. I believe it is Grindstone Award. Let's see here. Yeah, I know if you search for Grindstone Award, yeah, it'll be on there. Yep.
So you can put the link in the chat there or whatever. Yeah.
There is a comment from the attendees, from the Zoom attendees, where they mentioned that the Mexican national team were sponsored to attend the Haley camp.